we had a foreign reserve as of 2014 of about $42.8 billion. And now this dropped around 2015 at the beginning to about $37.3 billion. And of course, as we speak, I understand the figure is around $28 billion. Now, why is it coming down? It's coming down because whereas our earnings have dropped as a result of the sharp drop in oil prices, our appetite for imports and foreign goods has not been curbed. And so, faced with rising demand for forex and declining receipt of forex, of course, something had to give. You had to fall back on your reserve. So the result is that other 2 years, the reserve has now dropped from about $42.8 billion to the current level of $28 billion. I am not a statistician, but we are doing labor analysis and try to project how we can fight the direct and indirect pressure on real wages. We also do some extrapolation on the basis of past analysis. Now, it's clear that if this rate, if we don't curb the demand for imports and reorder our consumption pattern, and it remains at the level that it was, which was up to about 4.6, about $4 billion a month at some point, and our receipt continue to decline, and as we speak, I understand our total receipt from inflow in forex is under 1 billion, far less than 1 billion. So if you are earning less than 1 billion and your outflow remains at about 4 billion, obviously, Bixman, you can begin to do the calculation while I continue the talking. At what point, all of that is be equal, I imagine that in the next 1 year, our foreign reserve will be zero. All of that is be equal, whether on the other hand or on the other leg. So, I think it is the realization of this danger that all of a sudden, everybody is discussing whether or not to devalue. And for me, there is something that is fundamental about this. The first time this issue, arose in national debate, it wasn't triggered by the people. It wasn't triggered by domestic forces, whether elite or workers or businessmen. It was triggered by the IMF in the old days, I think in the 1980s. And we have a whole national commission when Professor Olufalaye, he's not a professor, but he was talking like a professor. He had managed a merchant bank. And we were lectured about the beauty of devaluation when we face the kind of crisis we face. We were even told that the additional benefit is that for a people that have perfected the act of consuming what they don't produce, the only way to force us to reorientate our consumption in a way that will reconcile our level of our sophistication in consumption to our rather primitive level of production was to use some of these instruments to force us to think differently. And because man is rational, a couple of things will happen. For example, we are told by these whiz-kids and experts, and it makes sense, common sense, even though I have seen find out that sense is never really common. That when you devalue, a couple of things happen immediately. Prices of imported goods will go up. And because they will go up, and man is a rational economic animal, but even if he were to be irrational, because his resources are limited, his capacity to consume will drop concomitantly. And so when he begins to consume less of what is imported, then our dependence on import will drop, our total outflow of forex will drop, we will save a lot, And on the other side of the coin, Nigeria goods will become cheaper because they are priced in naira. And because they have become cheaper, the demand for those goods will go up. And as they go up, and Nigeria is selling all sorts of goods and services to the rest of the world, then our export and our share of world market and of world trade will increase for the same reason. So you therefore have a healthy balance of payment situation. You are importing less, and importing less and exporting more. You are earning more foreign exchange and consuming, earning more foreign exchange and spending less foreign exchange, and this will lead to huge buildup of your foreign reserve, which is the road to becoming a robust economy. This was the argument around the issue of the structural adjustment program that was driven by the International Monetary Fund. Then I was just a textile worker, but one of the things I learned about issues like this is that even though I have protested about my being asked to be the guest speaker, that it should be given to experts, I also know that the tyranny of experts can be just as damaging as the ignorance of the people. Because when you are dealing with not rocket science, you are dealing with social policies, you dealing with economic questions, every honest economist will tell you that there is no such thing as this is the economic solution. It depends on the values that drive the economist. Any economist who is not aware or who refuses to acknowledge that the business of economics is value-laden and value-driven is not himself aware of his own biases. So we are dealing with issues that will produce winners. Every economic policies produce winners. It also produces losers. For the very reason that few people are getting richer, those same forces explain why others are getting poorer. Because resources are limited, the more few people take, the less is available to the others. So the crisis of nation state is crisis of distribution. So when economists pontificate about answers and solutions, they do so as if they are dealing with rocket science. They are battling with their values, they are battling with their biases, and they are looking at policies that will hurt some and deliver some comfort to others. So who then prevail at the end of the day will depend on balance of forces, which is why politics is about imposing your own values on the system. If free marketers are in charge, because there is a way in which the market, if allowed to run its course, can translate to survival of the fittest, and the fittest are the big boys, then of course the weak boys like myself, we will be crushed. Of course, those who also believe that government should run in a way that delivers the greatest good for the greatest number, the state must then become the only asset available for the poor for protection, so that at the end of the day, the forces of the market does not wipe all of us out of our relative comfort. So what is the problem now? Who wants devaluation? Who has taken the naira to the court for trial? And I revisit the question, who is prosecuting and who is defending? I try to reduce it to this level so that this issue should not be left in the hands of experts alone. I think the issue of our national economy policies is not just a matter for experts. Everybody is an economist. For example, if you ask me, I think that the greatest economists around the world, particularly in Nigeria, are the poor people. Now, you just ask yourself the question, have we spared a thought to address just one basic elementary question? How a worker who is on 80,000 naira a month, at official exchange rate of 200, that delivers him about $80 a month. The lady was more interested in the parallel market, which according to you must be very active there. to be so up to date, because I am not so active there, so I'm not up to date. But I believe you. There is about 300.